Hey there, Elliot with Pugloaf here, and you probably noticed I've been a little bit absent from my channel, maybe up to about a year, but I have also been a little bit busy doing kind of healthy things instead of telling you random consumer tech that you may or may not want to buy. That being said, I am back out of retirement with something pretty cool. This is the OnPark Find 3, an electric skateboard. Alright, so what exactly do we get out of the specs in this thing? Well, the most important ones that we're going to look at are range, speed, and then of course the safety components that keep you alive. So I guess we can work in reverse order, because if this supposedly does go about 30 miles per hour, it doesn't. You are obviously going to need some sort of braking system to keep you alive. So we'll highlight that in a minute, exactly how well or not exactly well that works. But it does have power brakes on there, so as fast as I could, I basically slammed on it. I did a few different tests. It works generally pretty well. It's safe at middle mode. If you're going real fast, like any kind of vehicle, if you're going to be stopping very abruptly, you're very likely to hurt yourself. So helmet's probably a good idea anyways. Let's go look at maybe range. So basically they say this will go about 23 kilometers, which is about 13-14 miles or so. That's pretty good for an electric skateboard. If you look at some of the comparable electric or boosted boards out there, that's pretty decent. However, this board actually has something pretty cool, which again, some of them do have, is an expandable, or you can remove the battery itself. So if you wanted to have an extra battery in your book bag, you can of course double it, you can triple it, and so on and so forth. And then for speed, that's what the sticking point was. So depending on the mode that you have it in, that's where your speed's going to be. So in middle mode, I went probably about 14 miles per hour easy, and that was actually pretty easy to control. In pro mode, it went maybe 22-23 miles per hour, very flat, regular asphalt surface. Did not really hit that 29-30 mile per hour thing. That being said, it does go fast. In pro mode, it's got a lot of torque too, so we'll kind of dig into that in just a minute here. Alright, so I've got everything all mostly charged up. We got our controller, we got the skateboard. Now all I have to do is pop this thing in there, and let's see how this will turn out. Alright, so first things to note, this thing is not light. Regular skateboard, sorry for that junk, real light. You can do that one hand, no issues. Obviously that's meant to go popping around. This thing, that is heavy. You're not going to be doing that with one hand. So obviously that comes from the very large wheels that come out of it. There's a motor built into it. And then when we add this battery pack, which is also actually probably heavier than that regular skateboard, it's going to add some good weight too. Let's pop this going there. Make sure that we're all good snapped in. Seems good enough. Alright, turn this guy on. Alright, boot up. So I didn't fully charge this thing because, you know, I'm only going to ride this so long before I kill myself anyways. So that's good enough. And let's turn this on. Alright. Pretty cool. Well, that's less cool because it's moving and I'm not touching it. This is questionable. Stop moving. Why are you moving? Well, the brakes work. Okay, so, you know, this is a great first start. Alright, so first things first. On our controller, you basically have the on button, and then you also have the power setting. Right now it's in pro mode. We're going to go ahead and put that in low mode. So basically what that means is how much acceleration that you're going to get out of this thing. If you put it in pro mode, which I tested out a little bit earlier, basically launch yourself real fast, and it'll also increase the top speed that it goes. In low speed or low mode, a lot more manageable. Anyways, let's pop on this thing and see how it goes. Alright, low mode. Here's pro mode. A little faster. Alright, now let's go on it and try not to die. Alright, so let's take a little bit closer into some of the other specs on here. So for each of these hub motors, instead of the belt driven ones, it's going to have 680 watts. So you definitely feel that within the acceleration when you put it in high or pro mode. As far as the weight, we already mentioned it, measured it, it was about 19 pounds. They say it's about 16 pounds. So maybe there's a little bit of fluctuation there. The range on this thing, it's 23 kilometers or about 14 miles. It's got a nice, pretty decent remote that gives you that LCD display and gives you pretty simple controls on there. And then I think one of the things that sort of stands out on this is that it does have a waterproof rating of IP65. So basically you can go through some puddles and mud and not be too worried about the electronics getting fried on here. As far as visibility, it does have colorful LEDs that are under it and 2 up in front. I'm not necessarily sure that'll be super helpful while you're on the road, but it does kind of look cool, so there is that. As far as the power to be able to go up inclines, I will say, being in Charleston, we basically have no inclines except for a couple of bridges. So I did find a little hill to kind of work off of. It did definitely impact the speed. As far as control, it's no different than going up or down on a skateboard. So if you can control a skateboard on inclines or curves, totally fine there. And finally, let's go ahead and put it in medium mode and do a hard brake with me on it. That's pretty reasonable. It's probably worth noting that unlike regular skateboards, you're not going to be going off of any jumps with this thing, because if you go over like this little curb here like I did, the battery will pop out because unfortunately it just hooks on. It does hook in pretty well, but there's these 2 clips which more or less are the controlling factor of keeping them in there. And that's about it. So probably keep it on flat ground as best you can, especially if you're going any kind of speed. There's a pretty neat feature, at least when you hit the brakes on here. So obviously you're trying to get on this thing. Like any skateboard, it'll be wobbling around. You're fully reliant on your balance. Or you can hit the brakes on this thing, assuming they kick in. And you can easily pop on here without issue. Let it go and start drifting. Hit that again. Oh, nope, brakes aren't working. There we go. Brakes, brakes, anytime now. There it goes. And we're off. So I don't typically like to compare devices or tech to one another simply just because the specs don't typically line up unless you're looking at the latest smartphone lines, and they all pretty much are the same anyways. That said, since this is a Kickstarter launched product, it's a little bit more relevant to compare to some of the other ones that have launched through here and successfully closed. So since this is not your typical electric skateboard, this one actually has in-wheel motors, or what the OnPark has called hub motors. So this is supposedly the first one. It launched, it was successful. They closed at 421K or so, which is pretty damn good. All right, so when they launched, I think the first limited one was a run of about 1,200 bucks. If we look over at OnPark, so right now, because it's in preview mode, I think it's in Canadian dollars, $657 without the battery. I think that's about 530 US dollars. With the battery, it's about 600 US dollars. So comparable, pretty solid. That's about half the cost, and it includes pretty much the same stuff, if not similar specs. Now, if we want to look at some of the other Kickstarters that have launched successfully, we have like this mini one that closed with about 240K. When they launched, their prices were a little bit more in line with what this is looking at. So it was $330 for a limited launch, and it kind of stuck around $330, $350. Then we have the ever so popular one wheel, which seems to still be around now, which is pretty good for a Kickstarter launch. They closed at $630, and when they launched through here, their limited price was about 1,300 US dollars or 1,400. There are unfortunately, or fortunately, just kind of a dime a dozen kind of deal on Kickstarter as far as electric skateboards that show up, all with anything from different speeds to ranges. Probably the biggest thing that you're going to see is durability, flexibility, and the battery capacity that comes from this. And then you also have different kind of models, but for the most part, what you're going to see as you're looking through these electric skateboards are the belt-driven ones. So this is a really prime example of what that shows up. Most of them actually hide that technology within there through some sort of little area behind it or some giant weird thing on top of it. Let's take a quick look over at Amazon and see what they have as far as just typical retail ones that anyone might be looking at when they're looking for gifts or for buying something for themselves, because most people, you know, are not typically going to go to Kickstarter, wait out that period and hope for the best on that. All right, first thing we see, $4.69. So already for Kickstarter, it's a little bit more costly as far as it goes. The range is about half, so points to OnPark for that. And then as far as all these other ones go, it ranges from small skateboards to longboards. Most of these are longboards, and a lot of different designs. Of course, you've got the scooters, but why on earth would you buy a scooter when you have them popping up in every city? You don't need to own it. You don't have to maintain it. It sounds great. See, here's another example of the belt-driven one, which is by Razor. I'm sure you've heard of that brand. Of course, it doesn't have great reviews. That should say something in itself. And then, of course, most of these all have pretty similar designs in their controllers. Some of them have a couple of LEDs. Some of them do have hub motors too, as you can see here, which is $400. It's already on the market. You can literally buy it and get it in 2 days. So that's a little bit of a push against OnPark. And then some of these, you can also tell, they basically use the same stamp and repeat system and maybe throw a couple of stickers on. So when the hoverboards came out and were really popular, that's basically what you were seeing with all the brands. You could go on some of the Chinese sites and basically buy them for like $200, $300, and then all these American companies were just coming through, slapping stickers on there, and all of a sudden they were $800, $1,200. I will say, with the hub motors, you will probably have less maintenance tools or resources at your disposal. With the belt ones, you can literally see right here, it's like $24, $25 to get the parts that you'll need for that. Hub ones, you're probably gonna more likely have to go directly through OnPark to make that work, because that's a little bit more specialized. All right, so obviously we have the most important question. Do we recommend the OnPark Find 3? Well, I guess it's going to be a little bit of a pro and con thing. How tech savvy are you exactly? So this is a Kickstarter, so obviously there's some gambling that comes into even a product coming into your hands. However, this is in my hands and it does work and it is a polished product. So the chances are pretty good that it's just needing to be mass produced and then sent to you. So I would not consider that an issue at all. The other actual issue is going to be support on this. So skateboards, they obviously get dinged, dented, any kind of electronics, you're going to get them a little bit wet. And this does have some water resistance in it too. But if you break it, there is a 3-month warranty and then you're kind of on your own. There are no returns for this, which is also pretty common for a Kickstarter. But because this would have to go back to China, that's not an option. So if you're going to be buying this, it's yours. Hopefully you're tech savvy enough to be able to work on it if there's any issues. That being said, because it does have the hub-based motor wheels, which are getting more common, but they might be more custom to the actual board itself, finding parts to replace it or repair it, that could be a little bit more of an issue. It's not like the belt-driven ones where you can pop on Amazon, pay like $30 and you get all the parts really easy. So if you can get past those, I mean, it's basically half the cost of the top tier electric boards that are out there, yet it also has top tier specs. It even bests some of them too. But that being said, I have not rode those, so I can't really compare it spec for spec. You know, that's not really a great comparison itself. So that being said, if you're willing to risk and having the ability to repair this thing, if you do go into any ditches or you will go somewhere at that high speed, so just keep that in mind. Definitely wear a helmet. Yeah, totally. This is a pretty badass thing. It's probably great to be popping this out right during the holidays too. But that being said, half the cost, great specs, generally pretty durable. So yeah, we do recommend it, but just hopefully you're a little bit tech savvy, wear a helmet. So I don't know about you, but every time I get a manual, especially when it comes from new tech from an overseas company, the English that comes out of these things is just absolutely amazing. So I don't know what happened here. We're all caps up until that L, lowercase. Something just crazy happens there. So let's just crack this open and see what we're in for. Our manual and it's a warming, not warning. So I guess this manual is just going to warm our hearts and hope for the best from there. First thing you see there, your board can lose power and breaks at any moment due to radio interference. Oh shit, this is going to be just fantastic. Alright, so when they pitch this thing is supposed to go 30 miles an hour. I don't know about you, but losing power immediately and brakes immediately, that sounds fucking wonderful. We're going to die. Alright, let's try high mode. Oh, why did that go backwards?